All right, family. I am so sorry about that. I was having some technical difficulties and had multiple things going on. Music was playing different places, but I am so happy to have all of you here today. I am Cristina, all witchy, and I want to welcome you to the No Coincidences podcast. And today I have such an amazing guest. I'm so excited to be able to sit on this screen and just hold space with her and have conversation. She's an energy healer, an intuitive coach, a spiritual mentor, and she specializes in guiding individuals towards emotional and spiritual healing by helping them reconnect with their true, authentic selves. Through her work, she blends the healing with the mind, the body, and the spirit. She offers transformative support for those seeking that kind of clarity, balance, and inner peace. I'm so excited for y'all to meet her. So, without further ado, I want to say welcome, Lisa, to the No Coincidences podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was sweet. Thank you so much.
you know, sometimes when I do my intros, people are like, "Oh, you make me sound so amazing. I'm just me." And I know you
Yeah.
feel the same way right now. Like I'm hearing you say it in your head, but you truly are an
Thanks.
amazing individual and you're so inspirational.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
I'm I'm excited to find out about your story today, Lisa.
Thanks.
So, can you just let our audience know a little bit about what you do?
Yes, I can. Um, it's a gift that I had all my life and didn't understand it. Um, I am that calm when the storm is going on, basically, for any type of situation. But I have a gift in reference to being very intuitive. It's one thing that I've worked on in this life is busting my wisdom open, okay, with my
Mm-hmm.
intuition and marrying them together. And so I'm very intuitive. I can read situations. I can read a room. When I walk in, I pretty much know what's going on. I can read people very, very well when they're in pain. And if they're suffering, even emotionally, I can understand them. And it's a gift I feel given to me from the higher powers. And I am grateful for it. I am, and I enjoy helping others. But in reference to guiding people when they request it or need it or schedule an appointment or whatever I do with them, it's me just getting to know them and then going from there, deciding what's best for their journey and how we're
Right,
going to kick it off, right?
right.
Because, we're born perfect and then our programming begins.
Mm-hmm.
And then we become based upon the programming most of the time. So I tend to peel layers back for whatever's coming at me from a certain individual that's in front of me or speaking to me. And I do my best to get to the root of the issue.
Right.
And then we come forward from the root and then we start the new programming of self worth, self love, self care, um, loving the self, choosing the self first. So many of us will put everybody before ourselves. I used to be that way. And so it's just a matter of teaching them how to reprogram
Right.
and get away from the old ways.
When did you realize that you were intuitive in this fashion?
I think for myself, it was a continuum. It's like I knew it, but I didn't trust it for a very long time. Like, it's like one of those things, what is this? Um, but where I really probably got rooted and grounded in it was probably in my middle 40s, heading towards 50. I understood myself pretty well.
Right. Now, I'm so honored to be able to call you one of my friends and a true
Thank you.
friend. So I obviously get to know a lot about you. We have a lot of in-depth conversations. And I know that life in the beginning as a child and a teenager wasn't always peaches and cream, so to speak.
Yes.
Do you feel like that played a role in who you are and how you came into yourself?
Oh, most definitely. Um, at a very early age, I was in a horrible accident. I was hit by a horse in the head, and the doctors were telling my family that if I made it, I would be basically a living vegetable because it hit the whole right side of my head and knocked my eye out.
Mm,
And of course, I don't remember all that, thankfully, consciously. Um, but my brain was swollen and it made my hearing not be there for a while. But I I've heard the story so many times, and you're asking me when I basically sort of knew. I walked out of that hospital in 10 days.
wow.
So I knew then that there was something about me that was different.
Right.
Um, that that I was special,
Right.
that I felt that I was gifted at that time. Um, then, as a few years later came upon us, my mom got very, very sick and had one of the worst cases of cancer, and I became the main caregiver. And later on in life, I realized that roles had been reversed. I became the
Mm-hmm.
mother to take care
Right.
of her. And so those are things, as you go on your spiritual awakening and discover things along the way, um, that I learned that in therapy over maybe more or less becoming the mom for her and roles changing because she couldn't be a mom because she was so ill.
Right.
And so when I took that in and realized that, I was like, wow, so I knew I was different even more so once I discovered that, you
Right.
know, of having, from that experience with her from 11 till I was 16 when she passed, that I was so big so young. And I
Yeah.
mean like emotionally, and,
Right.
and taking on responsibility that most kids do not do. But I was okay with it at the same time, oddly enough. Of course, in my humanity, once in a while I get upset because I really didn't get to be with my friends that often and stuff like that. And I would be
Right.
emotional in that way, and that's natural. But overall, I think I did a pretty dang good job
Right. Yeah, I
in caring for
agree.
her.
And I know we're definitely going to continue down this path of conversation, but one of our viewers, Lori, she's a good friend of mine as well. I love you, Lori. Thank you so much for being here. I see the rest of y'all over there too. We got a good family here today. But Lori says, I think our society tends to denounce and diminish our intuitive tendencies. Therefore, we discount our own merit and worth, looking to others for validation and credibility. Not all of us, but many. And I think that Lisa and I kind of align on where we see this, right? We see that
Hmm.
people who have learned to come into their intuitiveness are people who have lived some of the hardest lives that I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had people go, "How did you make it through that? How are you still emotionally balanced and you've went through all of that?" Lisa, do you experience that same thing?
I do, because I mean, my story is so vast,
Mhm.
really, in this human experience of all that I've truly experienced in a negative way, and then in return turning it to positive. But I do get that a lot because I don't know how many in here can relate, but it's just been one thing after another, another on this journey.
Right.
But I also know I signed up for this
Right.
because I am writing all of this into goodness and growing myself and expanding myself in reference to my soul,
Right.
and that's why I'm like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. And I hear you say, I signed up for this. Now, I know you and I agree on these things. What do you mean when you say I signed up for this?
Well, I do believe we come into this life on a mission for our soul's sake. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we come in here, we're going to do what we're going to do. And I know, and fortunately, I just found out I've come out of the karmic cycle of 16 years behind Pluto and everything else. I'm a Libra. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm glad I found out about it because it all makes sense why life has been over these last 16 years, let alone the
Right.
last 20. But I was so glad to get that answer because it just made so much sense in my life. Um, but I don't know when I knew when I signed up for this. I can't tell you exactly when I discovered that, but it's like I knew I come in this life of being on a mission to really, really fix a lot of my stuff up, and I have, and correct it and write it and cleanse it and purge it. And that's been my
Right.
mission. And I will continue to do that till I leave this human experience.
You know, for the listeners out there, this is something that we've talked about, that soul contract that we sign before we come here. I like to, and Lisa, if you don't mind, I'm going to just take away from this for a second and I'm going
That's
to
fine.
explain
Go
it.
for it. Yeah.
So, with our soul contract, we sit down with God, source, our highest being, whatever, we want to call it, and we say, okay, God, I'm going to take 17 horrific things and I'm going to take that, right? I'm going to have it in this life. But in return, God, I'm going to need you to give me the abundance of 10 other things. And so imagine it as a timeline, if you will. Your timeline goes straight across, and God says, okay, this is your contract. And He takes those 17 bad things and He sprinkles them throughout your life. And then He takes those 10 good things and He sprinkles those throughout your life on this timeline, right? And we as humans have free will to do whatever we want, but we signed that soul contract. And so, therefore, those 27 things that we signed up for, no matter how far out in left field you are or how far out in right field you are, God's going to make sure you swerve back in and you hit that point for that item that you signed that soul contract for. And once you grow through that storm and come out the other side, you can go weaving back into whatever lane you want
That's right.
until the next pinpoint comes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how we live out our soul contracts, right? And so, those of us who are getting rid of karmic experiences, getting rid of generational curses, we end up with the abundant of bad and the abundant of good. And we just have to remember that this is for our soul purpose, right? Because when we
That's right.
leave this school of earth to go on to the next place that we're going to be in as a soul,
Mm-hmm.
we gain abundance from this entire life cycle.
Absolutely.
I hope that resonates with our listeners right now.
Me too.
Um, Now, you mentioned that you had the accident as a child. And then I know that when you came into your teenage and adult years, you had to make a very big decision in life of what path you wanted to go on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I was raised in a very religious cult. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I also was born into a family that my father was a preacher. Loved him dearly, though. A lot of who I am, I got from my dad, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but and I'll just say it to you this way. I come from no TV, no cutting of the hair, no wearing pants, no going to the roller rink, no bowling, very strict life. You know, that was all supposedly sin. But I never bought into it. I existed with
Right.
inside myself, okay? And I want to be clear with that to you all where I did what I needed to do to maintain in the family, but I never committed to it because I felt that it was just absolutely ridiculous
Right.
to put that type of stipulation. I mean, God creates us and then they're going to try to take away all the joy away. That didn't
Right.
make any sense to me. So I was very brave. I felt this again. This is where I started to know my intuition at 17 years of age. My mom had passed, and it was the next year I graduated from high school. And I felt all summer long that I had to have a talk with my dad. I just had to have a talk with my dad because I wasn't going to keep on doing this. I didn't know how my journey was going to go, but I just definitely was not going to be committed to this religion anymore. So I finally worked up the nerve one afternoon. I was so nervous. I remember my knees literally knocking, um, and told him that I needed to talk to him. He's like, okay, sissy, what do you want to talk about? And so I said, I've lived the way that I've had to live under your ruling and the rules of the church and everything like that, to keep the roof over my head. Now looking back on that, it was pretty, like, in a way rude, but it was like, I was honest. But
Yep.
I said, I just want to let you know that going forward in my life, I'm not going to be doing all the things that I was required growing up in the home. And he goes, what do you mean by that? What are you going to be changing? And I said, I don't know all that I'm going to be changing. But I said, what I do know is the platform that you say that it takes to get to heaven, or the level that you put God. I don't think that God is that and requires all that you have made up of these man-made rules. So I'm just
Right.
letting you know I'm not going to be abiding by all of them. And I was just a nervous wreck. I was shaking so bad inside of myself, I swear. And he gave me the biggest and best gift. I never anticipated it from him. And he said, well, sissy, he said, I'll meet you 50-50. And coming from what I come from and going through that, all that I had gone through in my life up until that point, I just was so relieved. And he gave me the biggest gift that day of just like almost setting me free and honoring me that way, you
Right.
know? So that, that we had that type of relationship, and I'm grateful for that. So then my life kicked off.
So let me ask you, leaving that environment and coming into what we would call normal society now, how much of a shell shock was that for you?
It was a shell shock, and I was a rebel, and I did everything.
I love it. Me too, girl.
I lived everything, and I worked hard. I played hard. I partied hard. I did it all, and it was fun. I felt freedom. I felt
Yeah.
joy. I felt happiness. I felt, like my wings were spreading, to soar. And so, but then that lasted for probably about 5 years. And then that's when I really started realizing there was more to life than that.
Right.
I did it, no regret. Um, Many memories made during that time, but you can only party and have good times in that way for so long. It just got old to
Right.
me. And
Right.
I had a great career. Dad wanted me to go to college, and so we bartered. I told him I'd give him 1 year, and I did. And then I landed in a medical company and became a biller for insurances. No experience at all. And in fact, the manager asked me in my interview, I was so scared. It was my first interview in life, and asked me, why should I hire you? And I said, and I was just like, boy, I pulled it from my toenails all the way up. I'm like, I promise you, if you give me 30 days, I will prove to you who I am. And he hired me on the spot. And
Wow.
I had no knowledge. I walked in there and knew nothing, and took off. And then after that, I helped three other guys. Two of them I worked with, they branched off from where we worked and started their own businesses. And I helped them start every one of them and from the ground up, and was the administrator over 4 medical companies by the age of 21.
You know, we we have confidence in ourselves to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're that young, that confidence is really hard to find. So the fact that you were able to pull that out of yourself and say, look, you have to believe in me. But the even bigger thing is that that person that was interviewing you saw a light in you
Yeah.
and said, yeah, I think that that spark needs to be ignited, and
Mm-hmm.
gave you that chance. And you've built from that moment to where you're at right now. You know, you're
Absolutely.
getting ready to go through another huge transformation,
Yes.
and it all started way back then, and
Mm-hmm.
it's built you to where you are. During that process, I know that's where you started really coming into yourself, coming into your intuition.
Yeah.
Um, what part of that made you decide it's time to be a life coach?
Um, there was a time in my life where I was feeling empty inside. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was not doing what I was really here to do. I had been successful in everything in the world, so to speak, but I
Right.
wasn't happy. And so I decided that I just put it out to the universe of like, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm not happy. I feel disgruntled inside. I'm bored. I don't feel fulfilled. I'm not doing my purpose is what I came down to. I finally was like, I'm not doing my purpose. What is my purpose? What am I here for? What am I supposed to be doing?
Right.
And within, I would say, 10 days to 2 weeks, something came across um, my Facebook at that time that was offering people to become a life coach in authenticity and love.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I really went inward on that. And I'm like, I really think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I really feel this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I really going to do this? I was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And until I just committed inside myself that I was going to sign up. And I
Right.
did. And it was a wonderful journey. I learned underneath Mandy Moore. She's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And um, it was a journey, and through the certification, it's built where you also work on yourself.
Right.
So not are you just learning how to do everything, you're working on yourself and doing everything. So it was a double whammy for me, but it was phenomenal.
Right.
I feel like it helped me catapult spiritually by doing it
Yeah.
that way. And and then once I really got into it, it so resonated with me, and I knew it was my heart. It just,
Right.
all the pieces came together of the puzzle, and just, I knew then it was what I was supposed to be doing.
Well, speaking of your life coach work, um, we have a conversation going on over here in this chat of ours.
Okay.
And I'm going to read a couple of the comments, and then I'd like us to kind of do a little banter on it, if you will.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So the first one we've got is from Tess. Hello, beautiful Tess. Thank you so much for being here. She says, awakening isn't always fast. I started my awakening in 2011 through 2012, and I'm getting more and more aware of what's going on. And then she says, I fell out of church in 2009 and started
Aw.
searching for where God really is or was because it wasn't there with those people. In
Mm-hmm.
2011, I had some repressed childhood trauma that surfaced and started my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, I had to forgive a lot of people and forgive myself too. We can't change the past, but we can make our future better by living today. And
That's
then we've got
fantastic.
another listener who's commented in this. Mary, she says, Tess, I'm in mine right now, and it truly makes me think what I have been missing. It has given me so much understanding and just freeness of being me. It's empowering. So I love that the audience is having this conversation of
Me
spiritual
too.
awakenings.
That touches me.
Um,
It makes my
and
heart
this is
happy.
something that Lisa and I, we go and we do TikTok lives, and we tend to bring stuff out of people, right? Sometimes we make them cry, sometimes we make them laugh, sometimes we help them heal. I love when we get to do it together because it's so amazing having our energies together. But talking about these spiritual awakenings, something I tell my audience a lot is, the Great Awakening started in 2017, and 2024 is supposed to be like the catapult of it, right? Where the
That's
most
right.
souls get awoken. And I know
Mm-hmm.
you've noticed we've had crazy solar flares, X class solar flares. These types of things are meant to send those energies to us to help us with our downloads. And then we have
Yes.
things happen like we had the second moon orbiting Earth for 2 months. It just left us, 2 or 3 days ago. And that affects the energies. And all of these things that are happening to affect us as humans
Yes.
and to waken us up. I love seeing that we have an audience that understands the growth that they have to
Mm-hmm.
go through.
Mm-hmm.
What is one of the things that you, as a life coach, would tell somebody like Mary, who's brand new in their spiritual awakening?
Mm-hmm. What would I tell her, you're asking me?
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is, and especially we as females, I mean, males have it as well. Masculine energy and the feminine energy. But the main thing is what I had to learn to do, and when I stepped into it for myself, is to really trust myself, because all the doubts start to flare up when you start to catapult forward into your spiritual journey. And the most important thing, and he's probably in here somewhere, but the main thing I would say to anybody, but to you, Mary, is be gentle with yourself. Because when we know better, we do better. And the process will unfold when the soul's ready.
Mm-hmm.
It just starts to just unfold. It's like when the crops begin to grow and it's time to harvest. It's the same way with the spiritual journey. It's like when we are ready, sometimes when we're ready or not, boom, it's like something hits us.
Right.
And so just truly go inward. And just the one thing I will say is sitting with self is the biggest gift to ourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit with self and you feel, I can't tell you how many tears I've cried about my past. There's a lot we haven't covered, and that'll come out probably later in other podcasts. But I experienced so much trauma growing up in the church. I'll just say I have a history of SA, and you know, during that time of my life, I took on all the guilt, and I felt like all of it was my fault.
Right.
And so that was a process of getting disentangled from that. It took me a long time to
Yeah.
do that. But then I was able to heal and grow and get to therapy and work on myself and really, really, really dig in deep, realizing all facets, you know. And it got to the point, and I will say this to any female or male, I was able to grow myself to the point that I was able to confront my perpetrators and have a discussion,
Right.
and also face to face forgive them. So, and that is so freeing with inside yourself. And I'm not saying that's for everybody. I'm just telling you my story. and also saying this to you all to help you empower yourselves to know it can be your journey as well. Because I kept it stifled and suppressed within me because I felt like the bad girl. What did I do wrong? Why did this happen? I mean, it's the overthinking
Right.
and the beating yourself up. And you're the culprit. You're the reason why this happened. What I was a bad girl. All those things. So
Right.
you have to learn to forgive yourself and then cleanse yourself and purge yourself, and then also get to the point that's your past and it's not who you are today.
Right. I completely agree with that. And the audience is agreeing with you as well. We got Elevate Souls Productions in the house. Apparently, it's one of the other ones, not me.
Okay. That's fine. They're sneaking in.
They're sneaking in. They said it brings you on an inwards roller coaster.
Perfect. It does.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying, even to Mary, because you're going to feel this and like, yay. And then you're going to hit, but that's just for a while. It doesn't
Right.
last like that forever, because eventually you get to that point. And I don't know if any of y'all have read the book, The Presence of Now by Eckhart Tolle, but he describes this, where this is what you do is you go through the roller coasters, right? It's the ebb and flow, and you don't feel like you're ever going to get through it. But if you keep holding on, that one time it's going to happen, and then you catapult forward
Mm-hmm.
so rapidly. And it's so empowering and so enthralling and such, a wonderful feeling. And
Yes.
so I promise you all that it does happen as well. Um, just don't give up on yourself is the key. Don't give up on yourself.
Exactly. And, I want to speak from my personal experience. I went through my spiritual awakening and growth for so long. And obviously, we all always are growing. But
Right.
I went through it for so long, and I went through, like the dark night of the soul. And I went through all these bad things that were happening in life. And the thing that we have to remember with all of this is that we know that we've truly made it through our awakening when we
Yes.
can wake up in the morning and a tornado is blowing through our house and we go, it's okay. It happened for me. I'll figure it out. You know?
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
And I know, one of my biggest philosophies is it does not happen to you. It happens for you. And when
Happens
we
for you.
get
And we
to that
have to
point,
reframe it
yep,
though. You got to reframe it like that. It's not to you, it's for you. And you got to figure
that's
out
right.
why the for you, right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah, a little twisted. I see you down there. You found the right channel. I've seen you on all three channels, by the way, ma'am. I love having you here. Thank you so much for joining us, sister. she's been YouTube surfing. Tess brought up another great point. Gosh, I feel like I could just bring all these queens up on the screen and we could just like have a live
Yeah,
right now. Tess says,
exactly.
forgiveness is for you. You
That's
don't
right.
have to forget. It's a lesson learned.
That's
Forgiveness
right.
releases the grudge, so they are no longer obligated to give you an apology. And I want to add to that, it releases you from
That's right.
them. It breaks that tie. That is the most important thing to do for yourself. Break that tie from the person who has wronged you. Just because they wronged you doesn't mean you can't forgive them. It doesn't mean you
That's right.
can't move forward in your life.
That's right.
It means that they have something that they have to repent for, not you.
Exactly.
And I'm going to tell
Exactly.
you another thing that I say to a lot of people is don't feel bad for being somebody's monster. Okay. And what I mean by that is everybody has a monster in their story. And sometimes, like for me, I'm okay with being your monster because at the end of the day, that means I made you see something that you needed to work on.
Hmm.
And I'm happy to help you with that. And with me
Yeah,
being your monster, I'm also willing to be the person to help you put in the work to change your life.
absolutely. Same.
So don't be afraid to be a monster. I'm not saying go out and be a monster on purpose. I'm saying don't be afraid to be that monster in someone's story.
Correct.
Um,
Absolutely. Boy, they're all sharing here.
yes, and you have a very big, all in caps question right now. What exactly is the purpose of a life coach and what do they do? Thank you for that, MB50.
Okay. The purpose for a life coach. And I'll say it to you this way. When I was young, I didn't have confidence in myself. I wanted to be a psychologist, but I didn't feel confident in going to college because of what I came from
Right.
and being raised the way that I was. So, years down the road, consciousness has risen, life has evolved, spiritual has become the woo woo, and life coaches are now the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not putting psychology or psychiatry down at all, but I don't go by a book. That's the difference of being with a life coach. I go with my intuition. I deal with a person and meeting them where they're at. I also choose to find out from them how far they're wanting to go at that point in time on their journey of healing.
Right.
I'm tuning into that person. I'm not going by what I was taught in college and going by a book. And it's also very, very much spiritually driven, and not every psychologist is like that, so that's a difference. And what I offer is giving them the opportunity to be themselves, being willing to let them feel vulnerable, transparent, and safe, most of all. And I've been in therapy, and it's very just strategic. Not that they haven't helped me, they have, but they're different in the way they
Mm-hmm.
do because they were taught to do what they do. I'm
Exactly.
doing it because it's a born gift innate within me that I discovered, and that's why I chose life coaching, if you will, um, to help others, to help
Yeah.
themselves.
That's amazing. And anybody who's been with me for any amount of time, they know that I went to school to be a psychologist. I have that pretty little degree. I could hang it right back here on
Oh
this wall.
wow, okay, all
And I
right.
and I could say, "Hey, look, I can help you," right? um, but I personally chose that I didn't want to go do a state test and have a state tell me how I have to do my job and how I have to approach things. I was like, let's do it through holistic healing. I do everything else in life
Exactly,
through holistic healing. Why not
exactly,
psychology?
absolutely.
And so, with spiritual and holistic healing, I really feel like you can make it through anything. Um, we have a guest over here, Grand Desir. He says, as the guests say, I feel like I am a bad girl or am doing bad things. Then a possible reaction is to punish yourself for that bad behavior. We can be our toughest critics. Yes, we can.
Yes, yes,
But
you
the
can.
reason I put that one up here is because Grand Desir also said, what if a person is always the monster? I want to just put this out there to you, my friend. If you know anything about tarot, I like to consider myself the tower moment in a tarot deck. And the reason I do that is because I don't BS people. I don't hold wool over their eyes. I am very blunt. I am very honest.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's what we all deserve in life. And if that's what makes every single person think that I'm a monster, I will never bully somebody.
Oh no.
But if I see something and I go, hey, let's work on it. And they go, I don't have that problem. Okay, well, I'm telling you, you do. So you can either talk to me and we can work on it, or you can release yourself from my life. If that makes me a monster, I will be every person on the face of this planet's monster. I don't care.
Absolutely.
You have
Absolutely.
to remember to respect your own boundaries, to respect your peace, and protect them. But it's not a bad thing to help people while you're respecting yourself. And if they can't respect that, that's a them issue, not a me issue.
That's right.
Lisa, do you have anything else to add to that?
I never thought of it as a monster. Um, what I'm known for, like when I zero in on something for someone or whatever, sometimes, I just cut like glass with truth, and it's not intentional to hurt
Mm-hmm.
anybody. But like when I come for you, it's truth. I'm coming in truth, and some people don't like it, and that's okay. And if that makes me a monster, I'm glad you said it that way. Okay, I'm okay with that, because what I did is just told you the truth. Sorry you can't handle it. You'll grow into it if you
That's
choose.
right. That's exactly right. Mystico has quoted Miss Lisa Crouse over here.
Oh my goodness.
So let's use one of Lisa's quotes right now. It's important to walk in your truth, stand in your power, and always be gentle with yourself.
That's right.
I love
That's
that.
my
Thank you,
guy.
Mystico.
That's my guy. Thank you.
Little twisted. Sister, this could not be farther from the truth. Life coaches should be
Oh,
available in
I
high school.
absolutely,
Girl, I got chills.
absolutely.
I got chills when I read that.
Yes, I agree 100% with that.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff that should happen in high school. I'm not going to take up this whole podcast talking about what should happen in high school, but life coaches would be amazing, because that is, for a lot of people, it's the toughest time of your life. You're going through puberty, you're maturing, your emotions are changing, like you're just going through so much, and it's like, gosh, could I just have somebody sit down and go, hey, it's okay.
Mhm.
As Mary says all the time, it's okay to not be okay sometimes. We got to let our kids know that too, right?
Right. And the thing of it is too, just like when they asked me about the difference, of a life coach, or why would you choose a life coach? That's another thing, because and therapists have helped me on my journey, so I'm not at
Me
all
too.
against them, right?
Right.
But I never got from someone, I would get, well, how are you doing today? Okay, thank you for that. But I never got, are you okay? And that's one of the things that I ask. Are you okay? And those who have been in my lives with me at TikTok, I did that just this past Saturday or
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, because we're in the holiday season. Our world is hurting. And it's what came up for me of like, this is what you need to address. You just need to hold space and see if people are okay.
Yep. I 100% agree.
And Jelly Roll comes out with that song,
Yes.
I'm Not Okay.
Yeah. And,
He's
I think the
speaking for
whole
so many.
world resonated with that. Literally, the whole world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I do very similar to you when people come into my lives, or when I'm walking down the street, I'm at Walmart, whatever. I look at people, I go, how are you today? And of course, you get I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, but how are you today? I had a therapist, a little bit of my story, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I went through some SA and some DV and things like that, and I decided to go to some intense therapy. I admitted myself to a rehab to go through 5 months of intensive therapy for
Oh,
that.
good for you. Okay.
And when I did that, I had a counselor. When we would come into the group sessions, she would always say, I need a feeling word. You're not allowed to use fine, okay, here. You're not allowed to use these
Oh,
basic terms.
that's
I want
good.
a real feeling. And until you would give her a real feeling word, and all the other 10 people in the group, she would not move on with that session. She'd go, I want a feeling word. Now, I'm not going to lie,
Wow.
me being me, and I'm honoring, right? I did take about a week of that, and I played a game with her. So I would come in with a list of feeling words every day, and I would tell the people in the class, I go, hey, take the first letter of your first name and only use a feeling word that's the first letter of your first name. Let's see how long it takes for her
Oh.
to catch on. And so we played this game for about a week, and she comes in and she looks at me and she goes, what is going on? Because I always sat right beside her. She goes, what is going on? I, she said, who planned this? And she looked at me again. She goes, I know it was you, Cristina.
That was fun, though.
I said, but Caroline, isn't it so fun? And
It's fun.
she goes, thank you for making group fun for everybody. Because at about the week point, it got to the point we were reading these lists every day trying to find a word, and we were laughing by the time she came into the room because we just couldn't hold it in anymore. It was so fun.
That's awesome.
But you know, I loved that she would sit there and say, don't use a basic word.
I like that.
Find a word that resonates.
That. Yes.
So.
And that's also with a life coach, it's fun. Sometimes with psychologists, it's not fun.
Yeah. Aw, everybody loves Lisa. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lisa, when did you start putting yourself first? Like, I know you life coach. I know you help people. But when did you realize it was time to put yourself first? And I'm not asking you to go into the whole story, but I feel like it was a specific moment for you that you said, it's time for me. Was it through meditation? Was it through guidance? What was it for you?
It was in reflection for myself and in meditation. But things for me in this life has been, things spur me on. You know, same redundant things or people, places, or things. And it's like when I finally hit a wall in a spiritual sense, it's like, that's enough. I'm not doing it that way anymore. And I do this all the time. But in reference to really choosing myself, that's what it was. It was just like, no more. I that's one thing I can honestly say in this life. I have given and given and given and given and given from my heart. But now I'm starting to observe around me who's really not on board and who is on board. And those who are not getting on board with me in reference to the guidance and all that I have provided, that I've been guided to give to them, they're going to have to fall off, because I have plenty more in front of me that are waiting for me, and I've got a mission to do.
Yeah. I love it.
I'm choosing myself.
That's beautiful. And it's inspiring, right? I mean, I had a very similar moment where life was happening. And at that time, I thought life was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the time of doing that 5 months. And then when I got done with that, I decided to go to school for psychology. And I was having my spiritual awakening. And in that, I sat with self. And I just, I realized, like, take your power back.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with taking your power back. And it kind of goes along with your little Twisted had commented a second ago. She said, I got attacked by family and I see now it's them and jealousy.
That's right.
But it made me do the shadow work before I could see it.
Yes.
And you're so right, little Twisted.
I relate to that. I can relate to that as well. The jealousy factor.
Yeah. You know, I tell people a lot of times, when someone is jealous of you, for me personally, I take that as a compliment. Because if you're jealous of you, that means I'm doing something in my life that you wish you had the strength and the capability to do.
Correct.
Jealousy is right. Jealousy is not a bad thing if you look at it the right way. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, my little girl, she's half black, half white, and I'm so jealous of her skin color. I'm like, gosh, I wish I could get that golden color.
Beautiful.
Right? And she's got them pretty little Shirley Temple curls, and I'm like, gosh, look at, I'm straight haired over here. Like, could I get some of them curls? Even when I use a curling iron, it don't curl like that. But it helps us to realize the things with ourselves, right? And we appreciate them more. So yes, Tess, use your voice. Use your voice even if it's shaking.
And I've been there, done that too.
Don't ever lose your voice.
That's right. Just go push through. It gets stronger. It's always building that muscle, so to
That's
speak,
right.
of finding your voice.
Lisa, how would you, or I guess my question to you is, what steps would you recommend for somebody who's going through this life experience and they have self-doubt and procrastination and a hard time setting goals, hard time taking accountability maybe? What steps would you recommend for somebody to take to be able to grow through it?
Okay. In those types of times of procrastination and trying to figure out how to get away from what's no longer serving us, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
keep on doing the same thing over and over and over again and getting the same results, and then you get frustrated. That's
Right.
where I call it peeling the layers back. So like go into a bird's eye view. So raise up above all the stuff, get out of the forest of the trees and raise up and look at everything. Like look at your life. And the main thing is, especially in my Gen X group and back, there's a lot of trauma that a lot of us have endured. In one way, shape, or form, something has happened. Beatings as children, you know, kids hating on us at school, name it. It's we've all been through it. And what I want to tell everybody and encourage everybody over this is just because you have gone through that, it doesn't make you who you are.
That's right.
Who you are is still in there.
That's
And it's
right.
up to us to go back and find who we were and when we came in on this human experience and we were born, and when you peel the layers back, that's the reprogramming process.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can't think of an example right now, but it's like, I'll use myself as an example. That's best. So I was not allowed to wear pants growing up. I could have stayed with all of those beliefs that was programmed into me all those years of growing up. But I chose to change and chose to change that belief. And it was like, I'm going to wear pants. I'm going to live my life.
Right.
And it's those types of things. And then, when you've been abused or whatever, anybody that's gone through that, I'm sorry that anyone has had to endure any abuse, any trauma. It's not right. It's not fair. At the same time, I'm not blaming the parents. This is generational, and if you don't understand that, that'll be another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But things are just passed down after generation after generation after generation. I know I am a generational stopper. Okay, I've stopped everything with
Mm-hmm.
me, and I'm grateful that I chose to be that person,
Right.
but the main thing is like I said, the bird's eye view, and just look at the whole picture of your life. What is not serving you? The belief. Like you
Mm-hmm.
keep on doing it and doing it. If it's not serving you, let's reroute. Let's pick something else up and lay that down.
Mm-hmm.
Um and that's what I've done in this life. It's just, if you pay attention to your intuition and you listen to your thoughts and listen to everything, you can get there with reprogramming and picking it up differently. Let's just learn to lay down which no longer serves us. If you were forced to wear red your whole life and you're still wearing red, but well, I'm wearing red because my mom told me to. Well, you know what? There's 64 colors in the crayon box. Pick
That's
another
right.
color, right?
That's right.
Let's go orange, let's go green. What is your real true color? I had to find that for myself,
Right.
so that's how I would do it, and help somebody do it.
You know, there's another life coach that I follow, and
Hmm.
he said it so well one time. He had the little Russian dolls, right? And it
Hmm.
starts with the little itty bitty one, and then it's
Yes.
got one on top of it, and then
Yeah.
another one on top of it, and it's got like five or
Yes.
six layers. And he says on there, he says,
Yes, it does.
yeah, he says, look, sometimes we start out as this, and then
That's
something
right.
bad in life happened, So we put something on top of it and then we do it again. And he goes, and when you get to the point where you're ready for a life coach and you're ready to change your life, we take that first layer off and
Mm-hmm.
we discover this one. And then we
Mm-hmm.
eventually learn to take that layer off. And at the very end, you get back down to this little itty bitty thing that's really just you. And when you
Mm-hmm.
learn to be happy with just this little bit, that's when your life begins.
Exactly. Perfectly said. That's exactly what it is.
Um, we had somebody over here. I want to say it was Grand
Oh
Desir.
my gosh, little twisted, bless your heart. We did it again.
Oh no, did we make someone cry?
Yes, little twisted.
Lena, sister, I love you
My
so
heart to
much.
you. My heart to you. Let the tears flow. You're cleansing and you're purging. It's okay. You're creating
That's
space
right.
around you. It's
That's right.
okay.
Grand Desir said, I have a question for you, Lisa. Why do you believe you would give away so much of yourself or your power in the past? Am I following what you are saying? Some say that the ability is to give is a unique gift. And then went on to say, and I mean giving it freely without wanting anything in return. However, there comes a point where one realizes that there are a lot of takers out there, right?
Right. Can you bring back the first part again for
Yes,
me?
ma'am, I can.
Okay. Again, we'll use myself as an example. Okay. To answer the first question here, why do you believe that I give so much of myself and my power away? Okay. I was raised Jesus, others, then you. What a wonderful way to spell joy. That's how I was raised. I was raised to put self last. I was
Right,
raised to not be bold or whatever. I'm just supposed to continually put everybody before me. If they're laying on the floor or falling in the ditch, go for them. If you're hurt and you're scraped up, ignore it.
right,
I was taught to suppress my feelings. So I had to reprogram all of that. And it's
hmm,
almost like I had to almost instill a bit of selfishness, if you will, to grow that muscle of taking care of the self and reprogramming that it's okay to do me first,
right.
and because I wasn't taught that. May I have the next part of this, please?
Yes, ma'am, you may. There we go.
And then I learned when putting myself first. Now I'm putting myself first. I get to pick and choose how I get to give and give freely. And if anybody
Hmm.
looked at my content recently, my best friend and her daughter every year for Christmas, we do a toy drive and they get so many donations. It's phenomenal. It's grown and grown and grown. I have no problem in giving in that kind of way. You know, I'm totally for giving and I don't have a problem holding space for people. If they're hurting, I'm willing to give, but it's a choice. I'm not
Hmm.
forced.
Right. I love that. That's such a great answer. And apparently everybody else agrees with it. Y'all, I'm sorry. My allergies are going crazy. I know I'm over here messing with my eye. I'm going to try to stop, but it's like getting all watery. It's not because Lisa's making me water, by the way. Tess said, "Oh, okay, I remember that. JOY. Religious
Yeah.
trauma unlocked."
Very good, Tess. You're right along with me.
So
I love
I'm
that she resonates.
Yes, I do too. So many people in this chat resonate with you. So I want to ask our chat right now, how do y'all feel about Lisa? How would y'all feel about Lisa being part of our Elevate Souls Productions family? Would you come watch her show? I want to know. And while y'all are going through that, Lisa, do you have any insights that you want to leave us with?
We're getting ready to close out this year, and I've been reflecting over that. I tend to do that when I'm heading into a new year. And I just want us all, and this is something that I shared in a live on TikTok a few weeks back. If everybody would just take a minute or so a day just to send love out into the world, because so many are hurting and we're all just energy.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want this to become something like I want to be like the poster child of this, of truly sending love out into the world. You know, if you can just stand in your room in the morning, or if you're getting your coffee and at the coffee pot, and just put your arms out and just send love out into the world. I would really like to see how 25 would be for us. If you just, all that are listening to me now would do this with me, it would make my heart so happy. Um, because I want to become united, and my heart's desire is, and what I'm putting out to the universe continuously is, love is going to win. Not these
Yes.
nonsense wars, not this nonsense political stuff, you know, because it really, all of it's irrelevant. All we are required to do is love one another. Can we please get to that? No matter the color, no matter the religious stature, no matter male, female, can we just start loving one another?
That's
And that's
right.
my goal, is to be love.
100% truth. I couldn't agree more. And I'm going to add on to that a little bit. Another thing that I've recently put out there to my family is God gives us unconditional love. And when you're given a gift like that, that
Yes.
means that you have
You're
the
to give it.
ability, that means you have the ability to receive it and the ability to
Give
give
it.
it.
It's right.
So let's always remember that unconditional love exists when you choose for unconditional love to exist.
That's right.
Now, Lisa,
Hmm.
I got good news for you. We got
Okay.
about 10, 15 people over there in them comments that said, "Oh my gosh, I love Lisa." Absolutely. Lisa, yes, we want to hear more from you. Lisa is amazing. Cristina, Lisa would be a great asset to your Elevate Souls Productions family. So, Lisa,
Uh,
how would you feel about starting a podcast with us?
I'm willing to do that.
All right. So, family, Lisa and I had this conversation before we came on today, and I think she's a little bit more comfortable with the podcasting side of stuff now. So, if y'all will please join her next Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time,
Eastern.
right here on Elevate Souls Productions. She is ready to give of herself and her knowledge to our beautiful family. And I'm so honored to have her in our family.
Thank
With
you.
that, Lisa, how can they find you? How can they contact you?
Oh, okay. First of all, my main social right now is TikTok. So you can find me there by my name. My user is Leave Me Alone 411. There's a backstory on that. That's
Yep.
coming up at another time. um, you can also email me at Lisa Crouse Coaching at Gmail. Feel free to DM me on TikTok. I have opened my Instagram up again. I'm opening that up, and it is I am underscore Lisa Crouse, and you can DM me there. I'm not really
Fantastic.
around Facebook anymore. I'm there, but I'm not there. You'll
Hmm.
see my profile, but I'm really not there. And I'm thinking, probably, since we're going to start the podcast, I'm probably going to start a new Facebook over there, and it's going to be more business driven for me. I'm going to be talking to Cristina about that. But Lisa Crouse on Facebook is pretty much dying out.
Well, if y'all need to find her, those are all of her socials. Of course, my family that's always with me every week, y'all know how to find me, but I know I see some new faces in here. So you can go on any social platform that is available to you and look up at All Witchy, that name right there. And I'd be happy to talk to you, guide you, listen to whatever you need me to listen to. I'm always here to help elevate somebody or anybody. Um, with that being said, family, it is time for us to close. I thank all of you for spending this last hour with
Thank
us.
you. Thank you.
Lisa, thank you for spending this hour with us. We truly
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you, and we are so happy to have you part of this family.
Thank you. Love being here, and I love you all. Thank you for being here today. And I
Yes.
hope it resonated with a lot of you.
Don't forget, nothing happens to you. It happens for you.
For you.
And always lead with love. Have a good night, family.
Take care.